morning. Good morning. Good morning. Morning, everybody. Just wait for a few more of you. Hey, morning, Barbara. Yay. You are my first on this morning. Good morning. Saying banana. So funny. That makes me laugh. Okay, Barbara, I will message you later after this call with your little prize. Yay. I'm so glad you're here. Good morning, everybody. I can see lots of you jumping on. Barbara was our first up in here this morning with the banana. I'm going to have to think of something equally as silly for tomorrow, aren't I? Okay, good morning. Okay, let's see if I can get this off the screen. Here we go. So, how are you all? Is everybody's brain absolutely fried trying to figure out a name for your group? Have you managed to get that sorted out? Is it driven you absolutely mad? So I just want to go over a couple of things from yesterday, and then I'm going to jump straight into day 2 for today. So morning, Anna, morning, Michelle. I can see a few more of you jumping in. So day 1 yesterday, if you haven't watched that yet, and if you're starting here, go back and start at day 1, because it's important that you start there to help you get everything in the right order. Day 1 was all about the purpose of your group and who your group attracting the right audience and what your promise to yourself and your audience would be. And it threw up loads. Yesterday, my phone was going insane with all of the messages and questions to answer yesterday. So I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed or feel, for starters, nobody's currently doing anything wrong. So I don't want you to feel like I'm doing it all wrong, it's all wrong. That's not the case at all, okay? You're here to learn, and learn just means that you're seeing things in a different way. Something new is being presented to you and something that you can try and incorporate. It doesn't mean you have to throw everything you've ever done in the bin and go in a new direction. It just means that I'm giving you an alternative viewpoint, some extra ideas, and you can try and incorporate them into what you're doing. So please, please, please don't sit there thinking you're doing anything wrong or everything you've done previously has been horrendous, because that's not the case, okay? And also, don't think that you just suddenly have to change everything, because you don't. So what I want you to think about is the big takeaway from yesterday for me was that naming your group can be super tricky, because it means that you have to have a really, really clear understanding of who your audience are, who the people are that are joining your group, and what their problems are. Why are they there? What do they want from you? If you haven't figured out those things, naming your group is going to be so tricky, because you're just not going to know why people are there. So if you're struggling at thinking, I don't know what to name it, I'm not really sure what my audience want from me, it's a big kind of eye-opener to say you need to go back and do some work on your ideal audience, and who they are and what they need. And that works, not simple, but it's doable. And if you're not yet in my Clarity Club group, which I will eventually, tomorrow we're going to be sharing the links, all of us, to all of our groups. So I'll share mine. Come and join, because there's a whole unit section in the Clarity Club that is something for you to work through to help you understand how to define your ideal client, how to figure it out. So don't stress about that right now, okay? Good morning, ladies. I can see more of you jumping in. So today, day 2, this is my favourite day. It's all about the content. It's about interaction and engagement. That's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be figuring out what is good engagement, what is good interaction, and what can we do to actually get what sort of content. This is the important thing. It's all good and well someone telling you that engagement is important and whatnot, but what's really, really important is knowing actually what to put as content that's going to get that elusive engagement. Okay, so that's what we're going to be thinking about today. You're going to have a little task. Yesterday's little task was to try and think about your name and to ask for feedback. You can ask for feedback if you've got an existing group. Go into your existing group and say, you know, I'm thinking of changing the name of this group. Here's some ideas. Which one do you think resonates? Which one would you choose? Which one describes you as a group member? Ask for feedback. Ask for feedback on your business page, ask for feedback in this group, ask for feedback in other business groups. So the important thing about your business name is putting it out there. Sorry, your group name is putting it out there, getting people to give you feedback, because often we think it's clear, we think we know what we're saying, but how is it interpreted? Okay. Today you're going to have another task to do along the same lines, but about content. So let's jump in. First of all, what is engagement? When we talk about engagement in terms of our social media, what do we mean? Okay. And basically, what I'm referring to is when engagement is when people like, or any of the other reactions you can now do to a post, comment on your post, share your post, or tag, or get involved. Anything you put, a post that you put into your group, engagement is any way that somebody else gets involved with that post for you. Okay, and the more that you get, there's loads of, I'm going to talk in a second about loads and loads of myths around Facebook engagement. There's loads of the more engagement that you can get on the post basically says to Facebook, this post is interesting, people are responding to this post. This post is something that people want to talk about. It's something that people want to share. It's something that people are feeling included in, feeling part of the conversation. And so then Facebook will show it to more people. In your group, obviously, that will be contained to your group members. If it's on your business page, it means that that will then be kind of pushed out to more people who've liked your page. So the idea is, obviously, the holy grail is to get lots of engagement on every post. So everybody who's in your group or everybody who's liked your page sees that content. So some myths about engagement. People have these lots of urban legends going around in terms of Facebook. For example, it doesn't matter how quickly you respond to a post. So people often say, when I put up a post, people need to comment within the first 3 seconds, and it needs to be a 4-word comment, and it needs to tag somebody. There's all these kind of weird rules that people think you have to do to get good engagement. And to some extent, I mean, Facebook, and they never ever reveal their secrets. So they've never said, yes, that's true, or no, it's not true. But in my opinion, what counts is that you are giving good content to your audience. Okay, you don't just want somebody to comment on your post to beat the algorithm. You want because then that's never going to translate into a sale. If you've got your best friend to come and comment on a post just to beat the algorithms of Facebook, you're kind of that's not really getting you anywhere in your business. What you want is people to genuinely feel connected to the things that you're sharing with them, the content that you're sharing, and then they will naturally, organically comment and give you engagement. And that engagement is genuine. That engagement is them genuinely identifying with you as a business owner, genuinely identifying with your content. And as time goes on, the more that they feel they are aligned with you, the more likely it is that they will continue and purchase from you and become a loyal customer. So focus less on how to beat the Facebook algorithms when you're creating content, and focus way more on how to actually provide content to your audience that is going to make them feel part of your community. So, you know, human psychology, when we engage with anything, in order to engage with anything, we have to feel that we can relate to it, we have to feel included by it, and we have to sometimes feel triggered by it in order to give our opinions. Okay, so what you're looking for is content that makes people feel part of a community, makes people feel heard, And often we can make people feel heard by reflecting back up their thought process, their challenges, their difficulties to them, and making them feel that somebody else out there is feeling the same or hears them. We need to resonate with something in order to feel part of something. And by that, I mean, often what's really successful is when you share if your group is full of mums and you share some sort of meme about parenting or how the kids are driving you mad, you'll find that loads of people will engage because it resonates with them. They're like, yeah, that's my life. And it's a natural instinct to comment and to engage because it feels real, like you've just to them. And this idea of feeling triggered, some people can really kind of panic about this. Now, I'm not saying that all of the content you put out there needs to be really controversial and like triggering, but sometimes when we feel triggered by something, when somebody puts up a post that you go, yes, I've been thinking that for so long and you've just said it perfectly, or they put up a post and you're like, oh no, I've got the complete opposite view, it makes you engage. It gets your attention and makes you think, I need to respond to that. I'm not having that. Or, yes, go on, I've got your corner. I'm saying this with you. So sometimes that your content needs to move out of the kind of bland, safe, and push some of those boundaries within your industry. And we'll talk more about how to do that in a little while. Okay, so why would we engage? What things all need to align to make us engage? We need to feel safe in the environment. This is kind of human psychology here. We need to feel safe in the environment we're in. So, we all know those kind of, often our local spotted or community group page, we kind of know, oh, I'm not going to comment on there because I'll just get shot down or get piled on or everyone will just moan about my opinion. So you need to create a community where your audience feels safe. They feel valued and part of what's going on. It needs to be a non-judgmental space, okay? You need to get used to the idea that people are going to question maybe your opinions, maybe things that you put out there. You need to kind of build that ethos in your community that what you're sharing, it's okay for people to ask questions. It's okay for people to share opinions. It's okay for people to have a different point of view and for you to hear them and for them to feel valid. So you need to get used to creating a non-judgmental space and fostering that about your community. You need to make people feel part of your community. So, when I say community, your group is your community that you're creating. And if every single post is about you and your business and what you need from them, like making another sale or booking something or buy this or come to this event, you're not making them feel part of it. You're making them feel that they are just literally an audience and you're just using it to kind of get yourself more sales or more kind of interaction in your business. They need to feel that it's a two-way street, that they are part of this. So they need to be able to ask questions. They need to feel confident to share posts. They need to be able to put things up and talk about things within the industry that are relevant to them. And so you need to allow that two-way conversation because, we talked about this yesterday. Your group is not about you. Your group is about you hosting and facilitating a space that nurtures your audience. Okay, so it can't all be about you. And the other thing is you need to, in order for people to engage, they need to feel that they want to be heard. They need to feel that people want to hear what they've got to say. So if we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a second, and much more tomorrow. But if you are encouraging people to comment and then you're not responding to their comments, they don't feel heard. They'll think, what's the point? She says, oh, comment on this. And then we never hear anything from her again until she puts up another post and wants us to comment. People don't feel heard. They just will stop engaging. Okay, so all of those things have to be there to get engagement. You have to create this wonderful package where people feel nurtured, they feel safe, they feel their opinions are valid, they feel that they are heard, and they feel resonate, they can reflect and resonate in the content. Okay, so how do we do this? What kind of content should we be putting out there that will tick all of these boxes? You know, this is kind of the magic happening right there. And for every single industry, and I know within this challenge there's lots of us with different industries, the actual meat of the content is going to be different. I can't sit here and tell you, you should put this should be your content. If you're a photographer, this is your content you should share. If you're a dog groomer, this is your content you should share, because it doesn't quite, it doesn't quite work like that. You have to figure out what's relevant in your industry to your audience. But I am going to help you figure that out a little bit more, don't worry. I'm not just going to leave it at that. So first of all, what things can you do to make people, we just said you have to create this nurturing, loving, safe environment. What can you do to create that environment before you start actually creating content? And there's kind of 4 things that you need to be doing consistently in order for that to happen. Okay, your posts need to be structured. You need to, or your group content, I should say, needs to have some sort of structure. It can't be completely ad hoc and flying by the seat of your pants, because people don't like that. They want predictability is our number 2. They kind of want to know what's going on. If you belong to a group, think of any group environment you belong to, whether it's a gym or a craft club, or maybe if when your kids were younger and you had like an NCT group or anything like that, they all were structured and predictable. You kind of knew what days of the week the club ran, you knew what time it started, you could predict that this was what was going to happen. And your group, just because it's online, it falls into the same category. Okay, it needs to be structured. So we'll talk about that in a second, how you can structure the days of the week. There needs to be some predictability. So your group kind of needs to be able to know that there'll always be a post going up from you at 7 o'clock in the morning, or they know that you'll always be in there at 9 p.m. That kind of predictability makes people feel safe. It makes people feel safe and secure. And once they start to feel safe and secure, they start to interact more and engage more, and on and on and on. Okay, so the other 2 things, you need consistency and you need to be vulnerable. Consistency is huge, okay? If you have a group and you start all gung-ho and you're really excited about it and you're saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and I've been guilty of this myself, especially over the last kind of August month, when everything just took over and kids needed me and summer, etc. It's hard to be consistent. So don't overpromise yourself. Don't say, I'm going to do this and this and this and this, and I'll be here at this time, and I'm going to do a live here, and then nothing. Then you don't show up, or you don't do it, or you do it for a day and then there's nothing else. Because Facebook is so saturated with groups, so saturated with opportunities for people to go and join audience that become somebody else's audience. And we are, as humans, it's in our nature. We're very fickle. We're looking for the next thing. We're moving on quite quickly. So if you join a group that in the group name and the group description promises the earth, seems to solve all of your problems, you get in the group and it's all good for the first couple of weeks. There's loads of promises about content. It feels like it's great. And then all of a sudden, nothing. You won't hang around, because that's just not in our human nature. It's not the way that social media is designed to work. Very quickly we'll switch off and we'll go somewhere else and engage where the content is and the consistency is. And when you lose your audience on social media, it can be very hard to build that back up, because people kind of remember that inconsistency, and also Facebook algorithm remembers that inconsistency. So you've worked really hard to build up your metrics, getting people engaging, getting good content, getting good, your analytics is showing you to more people, and then you plummet because you stop being consistent, you've lost your predictability, there's no structure to how you're posting, people stop engaging with you, and Facebook goes, oh, they're not very interesting, nobody's engaging, we won't show them to as many people. And then you've got to start all over again trying to build that back up. So, really important that you're consistent, but it doesn't mean by being consistent you have to overstretch yourself and you have to overwhelm yourself by trying to post 15 times a day and 100 different types of content and going live every 5 minutes. Don't, consistency could be my Clarity Club group. Consistency for me is that I'm in there live on a Monday. Haven't been great at that the last few weeks. Live on a Monday, that's my time that I give to that group. And then there are things that I post every day of the week following a theme, which I'm going to share more about. But they are scheduled, so they just go off into the group. But you can't promise something and not deliver, okay? So think about what it is, think about how much you're going to commit to that group. If you're going to commit to going once a week live, just stick to it. But don't commit to going live every single day if you know that that's just not going to happen in reality, because that lack of consistency will really damage your reputation of your group, okay? So they are the 4 really important principles. You need to be consistent, you need to have some structure, you need to be predictable, and you need to be vulnerable. And your vulnerability comes in the kind of content that you post, sharing your story. If you're one of my Tropic ladies in here and you're talking, some of the content you share can be about your own skincare journey, it can be about issues you've had with your skin and how you've overcome it, confidence issues relating to your skin that you've then overcome. I know a few of you running kind of mental health or wellness or health in general kind of groups, talk about your own struggles, share some of your personal stories so people feel that you're walking the walk and not just talking the talk, okay? So that you share some of that vulnerability. It helps if somebody is vulnerable and shares a bit about themselves, you feel more confident in sharing some of your vulnerability and sharing some of your challenges. If you're creating a group where you're kind of creating an environment where everything's rosy, everything's perfect, everything's fantastic for you, you're amazing, nothing goes wrong, you've got no issues, people are going to find it harder when you post content asking what's their biggest skincare problem, or how are they doing this morning with their mental health, or how are they feeling, what's their mindset challenge. They're not going to open up to you because they're going to think, well, everything's great for her, she's always talking about how perfect life is. I'm not going to tell her because she might think bad of me or she might judge me. So we have to, as the host of the group, we have to get used to putting ourselves in a place of vulnerability. And often going live in a group really shows your vulnerability, because how many of us absolutely hate when I say to my clients, I want you to go live in your Facebook group or on your page. I get that because we're scared, we don't want to do it. But by actually going in and doing this in your group, you're showing your group it's okay. You can say to them, I'm coming in, please, I'm a little bit nervous, I don't like doing lives, so bear with me. But I really feel, I really want to share this content with you. I really want to give you my top tip on this, or I really want to show you this latest product. By showing them that little bit of vulnerability, you're helping them relate to you, because they're probably there thinking, oh yeah, I hate being on camera, I hate photos of myself. But if she can do it, then next time you ask them to share a selfie in the group or come in live in the group, they might be more keen to do it because they're following your lead. So we have to be that person that's showing them the way, that's guiding them, but also telling them that it's not easy for you. Yeah, Barbara, there you go, hate lives. But if you do it with that air of, I don't like doing this is not easy for me, you are helping your audience see that you're vulnerable, see that you're not some sort of superhuman who can do everything. And that's really, really important for building and nurturing that environment where people feel safe. Okay, so on to type of content that you can create. Okay, So there's loads of different, you remember we talked yesterday, or I shared with you yesterday in my analogy, that your group is your shop. Your page is your shop window. Your group is your shop. People have come into your shop. They want to see an array of displays. If you go into Tesco, you do not want everything just stacked floor to ceiling in a pile, because, you know, just too mind numbing. You want to see different types of displays. You want to see shelves. You want to see freezers. You want to see, nicely displayed counters. And in your group, it's exactly the same. People want an array of visual display. And by that, it means that you need to change up your content regularly. You might do live, so video content. You might do what I call flat content, which is just text. You might do image content, so you might share a photo or an image with a small bit of text. And by the way, when I say text, I mean like the long post format, where you might kind of write a big long post. You might do polls. You might do kind of any other kind of interactive type post where they have to give you an opinion. You might do an interview, so you might use StreamYard like this and have you and somebody else talking live. So think about all of the different types of content you can put into your group. Okay, so that's one of the things that I want you to have a think about. Sometimes it helps is to start, and that's one of the tasks I've given you on your template today, is just to do a really big brain dump. Think about your industry. Think about, okay, so your industry might be skincare or pet photography or glass fusing, or, you know, all these different industries that are represented in this group here today. What's your industry? And then what content do you share? What expert knowledge, what content can you share about your industry? And do a big brain dump, write all the possible topic ideas. So not just, and by content, I don't mean just about your products or about your service. So I don't mean that is one little type. You could do some content that relates to your products, but what else? So, you know, skincare routines, how to use a cleanser, how to apply a face mask, different scents that people might have, how, you know, what about the properties of different scents. If you're kind of selling candles or wax melts or that kind of thing, you can talk about how all the different types of smells. You could talk about the benefits of your products to your customers. You can talk about the challenges you've overcome, different reasons why you might need the different products. So think of all, not just, don't always think I need to do a post that tells people, you know, here's the moisturizer, this is what the ingredients are, this is the cost, because that kind of thing is quite flat content. It's kind of, okay, people read it and go, oh, okay. There's no opportunity for engagement. People can't really give their opinion on that kind of post. Then they can't really share a vulnerability. They can't really share how it relates to them. They can't really share how they feel about it, because it's just a kind of flat sales post. So a lot of that kind of content isn't going to get you any engagement, because there's nothing that people can engage with. So try and do a brain dump of all the type of content you could put into your group, all the things you could share with your group that can help them, inspire them, motivate them, but that's also engaging, that's also going to have some element of conversation around it, that's going to have something that they can share and relate to. Okay, so it's not an easy task today. It's not something either that you're just going to do overnight. This takes time, and you might kind of do it and then go back to it and share ideas on this in this group of the type of content you're thinking of. See what other people in your industry are doing. So don't think that this is a task that you'll just do, tick off, done today. It's something that you kind of have to mull over for a little while. Go and do some research, go and have a look at other people who are in the same industry as you. What kind of content are they sharing? What kind of thing gets them good engagement? How could I share something like that? How could I think of something like that that's relevant to my group? Okay, So you could be thinking about the answers to their problems. So that's that kind of content. How can I add value? How can I give them answers to their problems? But the other kind of thing that you could do is things like invite guest speakers into your group. And I do this regularly over in my charity club. Yes, I'm a business coach. There is the potential for me to go, do you know what? Any question about business, I can answer it. But it's a bit boring for my audience if it's always me coming in and doing a live and talking about that kind of thing. What's really helpful is for me to say, do you know what? I found an expert in marketing to come and talk to us, and they're going to do a guest live. I found an expert in social media. I found an expert in finance and things like websites, and I invite them in to talk to my audience about their particular expertise. It gives my audience some in-depth training. They feel that I've added value to them, and the person doing the guest speaking gets to see a whole new audience and expose themselves. So it can be really useful in your group to think about, how can I invite people in to add some content to my group? How can I get, and you know, all of you skincare ladies, you can be each other's guest experts. You can get a different Tropic ambassador to come in and talk about applying eyeshadow. You could get a different Tropic ambassador to come in and talk about face masks. You don't have to be the person that talks about every single one of your products all the time. Getting different faces into your group and different people's perspective on things adds value. Don't feel scared that your audience is then going to go and leave you and follow them instead, because that's not how it works. You've nurtured your audience trusts you and they know you. This person that's coming in is just giving their perspective, their little bit of expertise on one particular thing. It's increasing the value that your audience feel they get from your group, okay? Because they'll think, oh yeah, she really values us. She's bringing experts in to tell us about different things to improve our lives, to help us learn more. So it is something that they'll value, and don't be scared. They won't just ditch you and run off to the other person, I promise. The other kind of things you can do, we're going to talk loads about these two ways are really good for retaining your audience. So we'll talk in depth a bit more about it tomorrow, is offering some sort of freebies in your group, something that they can only get from you by being in your group, and doing some sort of challenge for your group to help them learn more in depth and get more from you for free. Okay, and we'll talk about those. So you could do challenges and freebies. You can have, so you'll notice that I've done it with this group, the templates. Have a file section in your group where you offer templates to your customers, to your audience, so they can go in and look at that. So they don't have to keep asking a question. So maybe you could put something in there that shows them how to, if you're skincare, how to apply their eye makeup, or if you're a photographer, how to take a really good picture with your phone, how to, a mental health checklist for gauging how your mental health is, anything that relates to your industry that's kind of a frequently asked question that you can create the answers to in some sort of template or some sort of little handout. Create it, pop it in the files section of your group, so people don't have to keep coming to you or coming to the group to ask for info. They can go into your group, into all the different shelves and compartments, and find the answers for themselves. And they start to feel that your group is a really valuable place to go. When they need an answer to something relating to your industry, they won't Google. They'll go into your group and see if you've already got something that they can use. If you've got a tutorial video or a template or a guest speaker that's talked about it, they'll come to you first to look for the content. And that's what you want to try and grow. Things like polls are really, really good. I noticed yesterday when we were talking about naming our group, somebody made the comment, I can't remember who it was. Somebody made a comment about how they use their group for market research without their group knowing. And I kind of said, well, why would you do that? Why do you feel you don't need to do these things covertly? You don't need to. It's quite bad practice in some respect to do this thing where what we call self-promotion or kind of hidden sales, where you dress it up as if you're genuinely interested in the problem they've got, so that you get them to a point of vulnerability so they admit to it. So for example, you might say, who suffers with really oily skin? And everybody who says yes on your poll, you might then message them privately and offer them, say, do you want to buy this product? It's really good for oily skin. That is kind of bad sales tactics. It's making people vulnerable and then exploiting their vulnerability. People will quickly cotton on to this kind of fake market research or fake interaction, because what they'll do is realize that, oh, she's only asking the question because she wants our answers so she can sell us something. And you need to move away from that. People don't want to feel like that. They want to feel that when you're asking them a question in a poll or in any other sense, that you're genuinely interested in their response because you want to kind of work through it. So my advice would be, do not try to covertly, underhandedly market research in your group. Be open about it. Say, I'm looking for ways I can help more people, so I need to know a bit more about your skin type. I want to know, I'm looking for more ways, I've got a new product. I know there's some new products coming down the line that are going to make life easier if you're, selling cleaning products. They're going to be much quicker. Who would really, who's looking for a product that makes life quick, makes cleaning quicker, or who, be open about the reason you're asking the question if it's to then go ahead and promote something. If you're just asking the question because it's really good to ask questions, to do polls in your group in order to get people sharing with each other and to create a conversation. That there doesn't have to be an ulterior motive. You can ask people, do you prefer tea or coffee? There's no ulterior motive. You're just kind of creating a conversation, and that's okay. Don't be afraid, but do steer clear of polls that have a hidden agenda that you're then going to use people's answers to try and sell to them. That's just a bit there. Okay, memes are an amazing way of creating this connectivity, this way of people resonating. If you know that your group is predominantly mums, like I said, and you share a meme about parenting or about trying to get the kids to bed or something like that, it's going to get loads of interaction because people can relate to it. So a really, really good thing to do is go on a treasure hunt for memes. You can go into Google, search parenting memes, motherhood memes, funny gin memes, skincare memes, pet memes, any of those things, and you'll just get loads come up, and just save some to your phone so you've got a selection that you can randomly use as content, because people relate to those. You always get really good interaction on those, but make sure they're relevant to your audience and your industry. Okay, don't just share any old random thing because it'll just start to look like a bit out of place. That you share like that are relevant to your audience or your industry, ideally to both. Okay, so how do we structure our content? Back to that idea of structure. If you're in groups, you'll probably notice loads and loads of groups have like this days of the week. So it might be Monday mindset, Tuesday tips, Wednesday, can't think of one to go with Wednesday, Thursday throwback, follow Friday, Saturday selfies, Sunday showcase. You see all of these different kind of alliterative days of the week, and you can see again, if you want an example of this, go and join my Clarity Club. You'll see that every day of the week has a focus, and this is pinned to the top. So new members who come to my group, they'll see this, and I put it in my new members welcome message as well, which we'll talk more about tomorrow. So they know what's coming every day of the week. So they know Mondays in my group is mindset, and is me talking to them about their mindset, about planning ahead, about motivation. They know Tuesdays is training days, so Tuesdays is the day that I bring guest speakers in or I provide training. We know on Wednesday in my group is Share the Love, so it's the day that they can promote themselves, they can share their links, they can share their business, they can share their products, they can share their ideas. Thursday is Thursday Questions, so it's a chance for them to ask questions in the group about anything to do with business, things that they need answers, advice they need, topics that they want to talk about. And they know that Fridays are Follow Fridays, okay? So it's a chance for them to share, shout out fellow business owners and share their Instagram or share their Facebook group, that kind of thing. It's the same every single week. That follows that. I do other things ad hoc in between. I might run a little mini challenge one week, or I might drop in and do a live kind of every now and again, but every day of the week, those days are the same. So in your group, start to think about, how can I theme my week? How can I get some structure into my group so that my audience can start to know what's coming? They can start to think, oh, I've got a question I really want to ask. I'll wait until that day when I can ask. They can start to think about how they can start to plan how they can engage with you. And it really, really works. It really gets people's knowing what's coming up, and they start to interact because it's predictable. They know what's going to happen. They know how you're going to phrase it. They know the post that's going to come up. And people worry that doing this in their group is a bit repetitive or is a bit boring. But think about the groups that you're in. Most of them will have some sort of structure, and you get to know that structure and you start to relate and interact. And you also, if you're thinking, what can I do? How could I make it relevant? Mine is slightly different because my audience are all women running businesses. So I keep my content about running a business. But if your audience are people who are interested in skincare, you don't have to alliterate. You don't have to do Monday mindset, Tuesday tips. You can do it however you want. So maybe on Mondays you talk about cleansers. Maybe on Fridays you share face mask selfies. Just think about how it can be relevant to your audience. And the template that I've done for you today, your notes for today, give you an opportunity. And one of your tasks for today is to come back into this group, and I'll set up a day 2 thread and share your structure ideas. Share with us how your group is going to run, what you're going to do on a Monday, what you're going to do on a Tuesday. And if you're worried, I don't know what to do, you can message me for ideas, but ask each other, ask in the group here, say, I don't know what to do, who's doing what ideas, or go into your existing group and ask your audience. Let's say, I'm thinking of structuring the week, what should we do on a Wednesday? What should be our Wednesday days about? That kind of thing, okay? So what I'm going to do is leave it here because I've given you so much to think about, and I've gone on for quite a long time today, because content is huge and interaction and engagement is massive. I could probably talk about this all week. If you've got any questions, or you're kind of thinking, okay, I'm overwhelmed again, I'm sorry, first of all. But secondly, just like yesterday, feel free to keep asking questions, and I'm happy to keep clarifying and going over things for you. But your main takeaways for today are to think about, what kind of content can I put into my group? What's going to make content that's going to make people feel valued, feel safe, feel they can resonate with me and create interaction, okay? Then have a think about, how am I going to structure my group so that I'm predictable and I can give myself and my group members some element of consistency. What sort of topics am I going to talk about on what day? Come into this main group on day 2 thread and share your topics, share your structure. And the last thing I want you to think about is guest speakers. What sort of guest speakers could I have in my group? Who could I invite? What sort of topics could they talk about? And if you're a little bit unsure, go in and ask your audience, what sort of guest speakers would you like me to put in here? Even if your group is skincare, but your audience are all mums, you could invite in some guest speakers who talk about being a mum, who talk about parenting, who talk about, mindset tips for being a mum, or house organizing tips for being a mum. You can ask in this group within each other. There's so many different industries in this group. You could offer your services to other people. If you're a skincare, you know, a skincare ambassador, you could offer to go into somebody who runs a cleaning group and go and talk about your skincare with their cleaning audience, and they could come and talk about their cleaning products in your skincare because your audience are kind of similar. Think about the different ways you can collaborate with some different people and start getting those ideas down. Who you're going to go and approach, who you're going to have as your guest speakers. Okay, I'm going to go and I'll be back tomorrow for our final day where we're talking about how to keep that growth of your group, how to get more people in. We're going to be talking about how to write a pitch to go and advertise your group. We're going to be talking about how to write a good description for your group tomorrow. We're going to be talking about how to retain those group members that are in there, how to keep them interested and how to keep them interacted, how to respond to comments, how to encourage people to leave you comments and interactions. That's going to be coming up tomorrow. Before I jump off, any questions from today's topic, anything that you need to ask before I go? If you're watching this back, then pop a hashtag replay in the comments so that I know you've seen it. And again, feel free to leave any comments or questions. I'm just checking that there's no questions coming up on here. I don't think so. I don't think there's any questions, so I'm going to go. But if you do think of anything, then pop your comments and your questions on this thread and I'll jump in and answer them later. Okay, have a lovely rest of the day. It feels like it's going to be a really hot one again today, and I will see you all later. Take care, bye.